Location and reputation. The fortress of no return. Black Dolphin Prison is located in the Orenburg region of Russia, near the border with Kazakhstan. Isolated from major cities and surrounded by harsh landscapes, the prison is one of Russia's most secure and secretive facilities. It operates under the Russian Federal Penitentiary Service and is classified as a special regime prison, the highest level of security in the country. Nicknamed Black Dolphin due to a statue of a black dolphin outside the entrance, the prison is infamous for its brutal conditions and strict control over inmates. It holds Russia's most dangerous criminals, including mass murderers, terrorists, rapists, and cannibals. Some of these inmates have committed crimes so horrific that they have been sentenced to life imprisonment without any possibility of release. The reputation of Black Dolphin extends beyond Russia, with many considering it one of the toughest and most unforgiving prisons in the world. Documentaries and investigations into the prison reveal an environment designed to strip prisoners of any sense of freedom, making it nearly impossible for them to function outside its walls if they ever got the chance. With triple security perimeters, armed guards, and surveillance at all times, escape is not just difficult. It is unthinkable. No prisoner has ever escaped from Black Dolphin, and the Russian authorities ensure that no one ever will. Those who enter are effectively erased from society, destined to spend the rest of their lives within its walls, never to be heard from again. Prisoners, the most dangerous criminals in Russia. Black Dolphin Prison is not just any correctional facility. It is home to the absolute worst criminals in Russia. The inmates here are not petty thieves or first-time offenders. They are individuals who have committed crimes so severe that society deems them beyond rehabilitation. This includes serial killers, terrorists, child murderers, rapists, and even cannibals. Many of the prisoners housed in Black Dolphin are serving multiple life sentences for their heinous crimes. Some have personally killed dozens of people, while others were involved in large-scale terrorist attacks that claimed innocent lives. These criminals are considered so dangerous that they can never be trusted in regular prison facilities, let alone in the outside world. Each inmate inside Black Dolphin has a terrifying history. Some were once high-ranking members of organized crime groups, responsible for brutal executions and mass violence. Others are former law enforcement officers or military personnel who turned against the very system they once served. The level of crime these individuals committed is beyond what most can comprehend. One of the most chilling aspects of Black Dolphin is that the prisoners are fully aware that they will never leave. There is no possibility of parole, no second chances, and no hope of release. Once inside, an inmate is completely cut off from the outside world. Family visits, letters, or any form of communication with loved ones are strictly forbidden. This isolation is meant to reinforce the idea that their past actions have permanently removed them from society. To further ensure that these criminals are unable to cause harm, they are kept under 24/7 surveillance, with guards monitoring their every move. Even among prisoners, there is no socialization. The Russian authorities believe that allowing these individuals to interact could lead to violence, escape attempts, or even the formation of underground criminal networks within the prison itself. Every inmate inside Black Dolphin shares a common fate. They have committed the worst crimes imaginable and are destined to live out the rest of their days in total isolation, under the strictest security measures, until they take their last breath. Extreme security, a prison designed for absolute control. Black Dolphin Prison is one of the most secure correctional facilities in the world, with a level of surveillance and control that makes escape or rebellion impossible. The prison operates under a special regime, the highest security classification in Russia, meaning that every aspect of an inmate's life is micromanaged to eliminate any chance of resistance, violence, or escape. From the moment a prisoner enters Black Dolphin, they are subjected to intense and constant monitoring. Security cameras are installed in every corner of the prison, ensuring that guards can observe every movement at all times. There is no such thing as privacy, whether an inmate is in their cell, being transported, or even using the restroom. They're always under watch. One of the most unique security measures in Black Dolphin is the way prisoners are transported within the facility. Unlike in most prisons where inmates walk freely under escort, Black Dolphin requires its prisoners to be blindfolded and bent forward at the waist while being carried by guards. This method serves two purposes. It disorients the prisoner, preventing them from mapping the layout of the prison or identifying potential escape routes. It keeps the inmate in a position of total submission, making resistance nearly impossible. Every inmate is confined to a small, heavily fortified cell with 3 sets of steel doors separating them from the rest of the prison. The doors are monitored electronically, and guards check in frequently to ensure that no prisoner is attempting anything suspicious. The walls are reinforced, making any attempt to break through them utterly futile. Another extreme security measure is the constant cell inspections. Guards perform regular searches inside the cells, sometimes multiple times a day, to make sure that prisoners have no contraband or hidden tools that could be used for an escape attempt. Prisoners must comply with every order immediately, and failure to do so can result in severe punishment. Inmates are not even allowed to sit or rest during the day. They must remain standing or engaged in activities such as exercise. This is done to maintain control and keep prisoners from becoming physically or mentally strong enough to resist authority. Even meals are consumed in strictly controlled portions, preventing prisoners from storing food for potential use in protests or hunger strikes. Guards at Black Dolphin are highly trained and armed, ready to act immediately if a prisoner shows any signs of defiance. The prison is surrounded by multiple layers of security, including high walls, barbed wire, and an armed patrol force that ensures no one can get in or out unnoticed. With this uncompromising level of control, Black Dolphin is not just a prison. It is a fortress where escape is not only improbable, but completely impossible. Arrival procedure, breaking the prisoners from the start. The moment a new inmate arrives at Black Dolphin Prison, they undergo one of the most brutal and psychologically crushing intake procedures in the world. The goal is clear: to strip them of any sense of control, crush their will, and ensure they understand that resistance is futile. When prisoners first reach the facility, they are immediately blindfolded and shackled. The blindfold serves a crucial purpose. It completely disorients them, preventing them from knowing the prison's layout or remembering any details that could aid in an escape. This technique also plays a psychological role, reinforcing the feeling of helplessness and vulnerability from the very start. As they are led into the prison, they are forced to assume this stress position, bent forward at a 90-degree angle at the waist, hands cuffed behind their backs, and escorted by multiple armed guards. This method makes it physically impossible for prisoners to fight back or resist. The position also limits their ability to observe their surroundings, ensuring they remain completely dependent on the guards. Upon reaching the prison gates, the new arrivals go through an intense search and documentation process. They're stripped of their clothing, issued identical prison uniforms, and subjected to a thorough body search. Every aspect of their identity is removed. Their personal belongings are confiscated, and they are assigned a prison number, reinforcing the idea that their past life no longer exists. The guards conduct a full medical examination, not out of concern for the prisoner's health, but to determine whether they are physically fit to endure the harsh conditions of Black Dolphin. Prisoners who show signs of weakness are often placed under even stricter surveillance to prevent self-harm or escape attempts. Unlike other prisons where new inmates are introduced to their surroundings gradually, Black Dolphin throws them into total isolation immediately. There is no interaction with other prisoners, no chance to build alliances, and no moment of reprieve. From the second they step through the gates, they understand that they are entering a world of total submission. One of the most terrifying aspects of this process is that prisoners are not told what to expect. They do not receive an orientation, a tour, or any explanation of their new environment. Instead, they are left to figure out the brutal routine through harsh discipline and strict enforcement. Any attempt to question authority is met with swift and unforgiving punishment. By the time the intake process is complete, the prisoner has already experienced a complete psychological breakdown. The blindfold, the stress position, the silence, the isolation, all of it is designed to ensure that Black Dolphin is not just a place of punishment, but a place of absolute control. Harsh living conditions, a life stripped of humanity. Life inside Black Dolphin Prison is defined by absolute deprivation and strict control. Inmates are not just confined. They're subjected to a level of restriction that breaks both their physical endurance and psychological resilience. Unlike many prisons around the world that allow some degree of comfort or rehabilitation, Black Dolphin is designed to ensure that prisoners experience constant punishment until death. Each prisoner is locked inside a small, heavily secured cell measuring approximately 50 square feet, 4.5 square meters. Barely enough space to move freely. The cell is enclosed by 3 layers of steel doors, making escape virtually impossible. Prisoners are not allowed to lie down or sit on their beds during the day. They must either stand or engage in controlled activities, such as exercise routines dictated by the prison authorities. One of the most psychologically devastating aspects of life in Black Dolphin is the complete absence of natural light and fresh air. The windows are small, covered, and placed high up, allowing almost no outside visibility. This disorients prisoners, making it difficult for them to track time or maintain any sense of connection to the world beyond the prison walls. Isolation and lack of human contact. Inmates in Black Dolphin exist in total isolation. There is no communication with other prisoners, no group activities, and no contact with the outside world. Family visits are completely forbidden, and prisoners are not allowed to make phone calls or receive letters. Once inside, they are cut off from their past lives forever. Unlike in other prisons where inmates may develop social bonds, Black Dolphin ensures that its prisoners remain completely alone. Even the guards do not engage in casual conversation with the inmates. The only words spoken to them are direct orders. This lack of interaction intensifies mental deterioration, leading many prisoners to develop severe psychological conditions such as depression, paranoia, and hallucinations. Minimal and unvaried diet. The diet at Black Dolphin is deliberately basic and strictly controlled. Prisoners are given only enough food to survive, preventing them from gaining strength or excess energy. Their daily meals typically consist of soup made from cabbage and water, bread, sometimes served dry without any spread, occasionally a small portion of porridge. There is no meat, no sweets, no variety, and certainly no access to anything beyond the prison's strict food rations. This monotonous diet is not designed for comfort, but for sustenance, ensuring that prisoners remain physically weak over time. 24/7 surveillance and extreme restrictions. Black Dolphin operates under a system of constant supervision. Prisoners are watched 24 hours a day by security cameras, and guards check on them every 15 minutes, even during the night. The prison surveillance is so tight that prisoners are not allowed to rest without being observed. Every movement is strictly regulated. When inmates are transported within the facility, they must assume the bent-over position, hands cuffed behind their backs, and escorted by multiple armed guards. This prevents any chance of resistance and reinforces the absolute authority of the prison staff. Even during the 1 hour of exercise they receive each day, prisoners are not given freedom. Their exercise takes place in a small, enclosed cage under direct supervision, with no interaction or variation. There is no access to books, television, or any form of entertainment. No chance of release, no future. Unlike in other prisons where inmates may hold on to hope for parole, Black Dolphin offers no such possibility. Every prisoner inside is there for life, and they will never experience freedom again. There is no chance for rehabilitation, no appeals process, and no early release for good behavior. Once inside, the only way out is death. Every single detail of Black Dolphin's living conditions is designed to crush the spirit of its inmates. It is not just a place of incarceration. It is a facility where criminals are erased from society, forced to live in perpetual suffering until the end of their days. A cage within a cage. The cells in Black Dolphin Prison are designed with one purpose: to ensure that inmates remain in total confinement, under constant surveillance, and with no possibility of escape. Unlike ordinary prison cells that provide at least some level of personal space, Black Dolphin cells are built for absolute control, isolation, and deprivation. Each cell measures roughly 4.5 square meters, 50 square feet, about the size of a closet. There is no luxury, no comfort, and no privacy. Every element of the design is meant to keep prisoners in a state of permanent subjugation, where even basic human dignity is stripped away. Triple-layer security, locked in from all sides. Unlike conventional prisons where cells have a single door, each Black Dolphin cell is surrounded by 3 layers of steel-barred security. An inner bar door, which allows guards to see inside the cell at all times. A solid steel door, which blocks direct access from outside. A final layer of reinforced security gates, controlled electronically from outside the cell block. This triple-layer system ensures that even if a prisoner could somehow get through one door, which is virtually impossible, they would still be trapped behind additional layers of security. The sleeping arrangement. No comfort, no rest. The bed in a Black Dolphin cell is a metal frame bolted to the wall, covered with a thin mattress that offers little comfort. However, prisoners are not allowed to lie down or rest during the day. The only time they are permitted to use their beds is at night, under strict conditions. The moment an inmate lies down to sleep, a guard inspects them at regular intervals, ensuring that they do not move suspiciously or attempt anything unusual. There is no uninterrupted rest. Every few minutes, a flashlight or camera check reminds them that they are never truly alone. Minimalistic and controlled environment. No personal belongings. Inmates are not allowed to have any items that could provide comfort or distraction. No books, no letters, no photographs, nothing that could remind them of the outside world. A high barred window. Each cell has a small, heavily secured window placed high up on the wall. This prevents inmates from looking outside or gauging the time of day, reinforcing their disconnection from reality. A single metal stool and table. These are bolted to the floor, preventing any possibility of them being used as weapons or tools for escape. A stainless steel toilet and sink. There is no privacy. Even when using the toilet, prisoners remain within full view of security cameras and guards. Surveillance. No blind spots, no freedom. Black Dolphin operates under constant surveillance, and the cell design ensures that there are no blind spots where a prisoner could hide. CCTV cameras are installed in every cell, transmitting real-time footage to security monitors. Guards conduct physical inspections every 15 minutes, even during the night. This means that even if an inmate wanted to rest, they would be frequently disturbed by surveillance checks. Prisoners must report every movement. If they need to use the toilet, stand up, or shift position, they are required to follow strict rules to avoid raising suspicion. Exercise. A small cage inside a larger cage. Each prisoner is allowed 1 hour of exercise per day, but this is not a break from their confinement. It is simply a shift from one cage to another. The exercise area is a tiny, enclosed outdoor cage, similar to a dog kennel, where inmates can move but cannot interact with others. No socialization is allowed. Prisoners are escorted individually to the exercise cage, preventing them from communicating or forming alliances. Guards monitor them closely during the entire session, ensuring that no unauthorized movements take place. Complete sensory deprivation. Everything about the cell design in Black Dolphin is meant to remove stimulation. No clocks, no sunlight, no sound from the outside world. Inmates have no way of knowing the time, which disorients them mentally. No entertainment, no reading material, no music. There is nothing to distract them or provide mental escape. Minimal speech. Guards do not engage in conversation, and prisoners are not allowed to speak unless given permission. Designed to break the human spirit. The cell itself becomes a form of psychological torture. Prisoners exist in a state of total control, with every moment of their lives dictated by the brutal and dehumanizing structure of Black Dolphin. The triple-layer security, relentless surveillance, and extreme isolation make the cells more than just confinement spaces. They're living tombs, where inmates are locked away until death at a life without choice or change. Life inside Black Dolphin Prison is governed by an unrelenting, highly controlled routine designed to eliminate any sense of autonomy, hope, or individuality. Unlike most prisons where inmates might have some personal time, access to books, or even occasional leisure activities, prisoners at Black Dolphin experience a life of total submission, stripped of all freedoms. Every aspect of their existence is dictated by the prison authorities, and deviation from the strict schedule is not tolerated. The daily routine inside Black Dolphin is not just about maintaining order. It is about psychological domination, ensuring that prisoners remain mentally and physically broken until the end of their lives. Early morning, surveillance, and immediate control. The day begins before sunrise, often around 5 a.m. There are no alarms, no announcements, and no delays. Prisoners are expected to wake up instantly when the guards come to check on them. Mandatory standing position. The moment a prisoner is awake, they must stand upright in their tiny cell. Sitting or lying down is strictly prohibited until nighttime. Immediate surveillance check. Guards inspect the prisoner's cell and conduct a full body check to ensure there are no unauthorized items, hidden objects, or escape attempts. No communication. Prisoners are not allowed to speak or acknowledge the presence of other inmates. Silence is strictly enforced at all times. Morning inspection and exercise. Controlled physical activity. After the initial surveillance check, prisoners are taken for their daily exercise, one of the few times they are allowed to leave their cells. However, even this moment of physical activity is heavily controlled. Bending position escort. Before leaving their cells, prisoners are shackled, blindfolded, and forced into this stress position, bent over at a 90-degree angle, with their hands cuffed behind their backs. This position makes it nearly impossible to observe surroundings, reinforcing disorientation. Caged exercise area. The exercise yard is not an open space, but a small, enclosed cage, barely large enough for basic movement. There are no weights, no equipment, and no interaction with other prisoners. Strict guard supervision. Guards observe every movement, ensuring that no unauthorized actions occur. The exercise period typically lasts 1 hour, after which the prisoner is escorted back to their cell in the same bent-over position. Meals, basic sustenance, no enjoyment. Inmates receive 2 meals per day, consisting of the bare minimum required to survive. The prison diet is deliberately bland and monotonous, designed to provide basic nutrition without any form of comfort or indulgence. Food provided. Soup made from cabbage and water. A small piece of bread. Occasionally, a small portion of porridge. No meat, no sweets, no variety. There is no conversation, no cafeteria, and no choice. Prisoners eat alone in their cells, with guards monitoring them at all times. Afternoon, total isolation and constant surveillance. After the exercise and meal, inmates return to their cells, where they remain locked up for the rest of the day. Standing requirement. Prisoners must remain standing. They are not allowed to sit or lie down. Cell checks every 15 minutes. Guards perform frequent inspections, ensuring that the prisoner is following protocol and not engaging in unauthorized activity. No distractions. There are no books, no television, no music, and no letters. Prisoners have no access to news or any information about the outside world. No talking. Inmates are forbidden from speaking, even to themselves. Any attempt to communicate is immediately stopped by guards. This period of total isolation lasts for hours, creating extreme psychological pressure. Without any stimulation or human contact, prisoners often suffer from hallucinations, paranoia, and severe mental deterioration. Evening, final checks, and forced sleep. As night approaches, the strict routine continues, ensuring that prisoners have no moment of comfort. Final inspection. Guards enter the cells once again for a full-body search and cell inspection, checking for any suspicious behavior or hidden objects. Lights never fully off. The lights inside the cells are dimmed, but never turned off completely, ensuring that prisoners are always visible to security cameras. No comfort before sleep. Unlike in regular prisons where inmates may unwind, read, or right, prisoners at Black Dolphin are expected to go to sleep immediately, without any form of relaxation. Nighttime, no rest, no privacy. Even during the night, prisoners are never truly alone or at peace. Guard inspections every 15 minutes. Prisoners are checked on frequently, even in their sleep. A guard shines a flashlight into the cell, ensuring that the inmate is present in the correct position and not engaging in any unauthorized movement. No uninterrupted sleep. Because of these constant checks, prisoners rarely experience deep, restorative sleep. The psychological effect of never having true rest adds to the mental and physical exhaustion. No change, no future, no escape. This rigid routine repeats every single day, with no variation, no exceptions, and no hope for change. No holidays, no special meals, no visits. Unlike in other prisons where inmates may have occasional visits from family or experience holiday privileges, Black Dolphin prisoners receive nothing. No sense of time. Prisoners have no access to clocks or calendars, making it nearly impossible for them to track the passing of days, weeks, or years. No reprieve, no parole, no release. There is no system of early release, parole, or rewards for good behavior. Once inside Black Dolphin, an inmate will remain there until they die. The ultimate psychological and physical torture. This daily routine is not just about maintaining order. It is designed to break the human spirit. The combination of sleep deprivation, total isolation, sensory deprivation, and absolute control creates a crushing mental toll. Prisoners lose their sense of identity, their ability to think independently, and eventually, their will to resist. Over time, the monotonous, inescapable nature of life inside Black Dolphin turns inmates into nothing more than living ghosts, souls trapped in a cage, waiting for death. Psychological effects. The slow destruction of the human mind. The extreme conditions inside Black Dolphin Prison are not just designed to punish the body. They're meant to completely break the mind. Unlike conventional prisons that offer inmates some degree of socialization, rehabilitation, or even hope for the future, Black Dolphin ensures that its prisoners experience total psychological destruction. From the moment an inmate enters, they're stripped of their identity, subjected to constant surveillance, and forced into a repetitive, monotonous existence that gradually erodes their sense of self. Total isolation, the loneliness that consumes the mind. One of the most damaging aspects of Black Dolphin is the absolute isolation that inmates endure. No interaction with other prisoners. Unlike in most prisons where inmates can speak with one another or form social groups, Black Dolphin inmates are completely alone. No visits from family or friends. There are no family visits, no phone calls, and no letters. Inmates have no connection to the outside world. No casual conversations with guards. The guards do not speak to prisoners beyond giving strict commands. There is no human warmth or kindness, only cold, mechanical control. Over time, this social deprivation leads to deep psychological damage. Humans are naturally social creatures, and without interaction, many inmates experience depression, paranoia, and even insanity. Some prisoners begin talking to themselves, while others completely withdraw, losing their ability to communicate altogether. Sensory deprivation, the disconnection from reality. Another method of psychological torture used in Black Dolphin is sensory deprivation, a process that slowly unravels an inmate's ability to think clearly. No access to news or information. Prisoners do not know what is happening in the outside world. Without newspapers, television, or radio, they become mentally stuck in time, unable to track the passing of years. No clocks or calendars. Inmates have no way to tell time. Days, weeks, and months blur together, creating a sense of timelessness that disorients the mind. Limited exposure to sunlight. The small, high-placed windows and cells allow almost no natural light, preventing prisoners from experiencing the normal rhythm of day and night. The lack of external stimuli causes prisoners to develop hallucinations, delusions, and confusion. Some begin to lose their grip on reality, unsure whether they are dreaming or awake. Sleep deprivation, the torture of exhaustion. Sleep deprivation is another powerful weapon used to weaken and control prisoners. Inmates at Black Dolphin are subjected to frequent guard checks every 15 minutes. Even at night, prisoners are never allowed uninterrupted sleep. Guards shine flashlights into their cells and conduct visual inspections, preventing deep, restorative sleep. Strict sleeping rules. Prisoners must sleep in a specific position and are not allowed to cover their heads or move too much during the night. Any deviation results in punishment. Constant artificial light. Even when the lights are dimmed at night, they are never completely turned off, ensuring that prisoners are always in a state of low-level alertness. Over time, chronic sleep deprivation leads to severe psychological effects, including cognitive decline. Prisoners lose their ability to concentrate, remember details, or think logically. Emotional instability. Lack of sleep increases anxiety, paranoia, and emotional outbursts. Increased susceptibility to mental breakdowns. Many prisoners experience severe psychotic episodes, hearing voices, seeing things that aren't there, or developing irrational fears. Loss of identity. Becoming a number, not a person. The dehumanization process at Black Dolphin is carefully designed to erase an inmate's sense of self. No personal belongings. Prisoners are not allowed to keep photos, books, or any personal items that might remind them of who they once were. Referred to by numbers, not names, guards do not call prisoners by their real names. Instead, each inmate is identified only by a prison number, reinforcing the idea that they are no longer individuals. Strict, repetitive daily routine. With no variation in their daily schedule, prisoners become like machines, following commands without thought or personal agency. This constant loss of autonomy and identity leads to severe mental degradation. Many prisoners forget the sound of their own voices, while others lose all motivation to move, speak, or even think independently. Mental disorders, the long-term psychological damage. Due to years of isolation, sleep deprivation, and extreme control, many inmates at Black Dolphin develop severe mental illnesses, including paranoia. The constant surveillance and lack of human interaction make prisoners feel like they're always being watched, even when they are alone. Severe depression. With no hope of release, no connection to family, and no purpose in life, most prisoners fall into a deep, irreversible depression. Psychotic breaks and hallucinations. Some inmates begin hearing voices that aren't there, seeing figures in the darkness, or believing that they are being experimented on. Suicidal thoughts. Many prisoners lose the will to live, but even suicide is nearly impossible due to the constant monitoring and lack of objects that could be used for self-harm. No hope, no future, no escape. Perhaps the most devastating psychological effect of Black Dolphin is the complete loss of hope. No parole, no second chances. Every prisoner inside Black Dolphin is serving a life sentence. They will never be released, no matter how much time passes. No personal growth or rehabilitation. Unlike other prisons where inmates can take classes, work, or engage in therapy, Black Dolphin offers nothing but confinement. No sense of purpose. Prisoners are not allowed to work, study, or improve themselves in any way. They are simply existing, waiting for death. Over time, this hopelessness turns prisoners into empty shells. Many stop resisting, stop thinking, and simply exist in a state of passive obedience, waiting for their bodies to give out. Others become mentally unstable, descending into madness as their minds try to cope with the unbearable reality of their existence. A fate worse than death. In many ways, Black Dolphin Prison is not just a place of incarceration. It is a living death sentence. Prisoners are physically alive, but mentally destroyed. They breathe, eat, and move, but they have no purpose, no identity, and no future. Every day is a repeat of the last, with no change, no progress, and no hope of escape. The psychological effects of Black Dolphin are as severe as any form of physical torture, proving that true punishment does not always come in the form of pain, but in the complete erasure of the human soul. Security measures. a fortress of absolute control. Black Dolphin Prison is not just a correctional facility. It is a high-security fortress designed to ensure that escape is impossible and absolute control over inmates is maintained. From the moment a prisoner enters the facility, they are subjected to the highest level of security measures, making Black Dolphin one of the most secure and impenetrable prisons in the world. Every aspect of its design, operation, and procedures is centered around one goal: preventing any chance of escape, rebellion, or unauthorized movement. Multi-layered perimeter security, no way in, no way out. The prison's outer defenses are as formidable as its internal restrictions. Unlike conventional prisons, which might rely on a single fence or wall, Black Dolphin is built with multiple layers of security to ensure that even if an inmate could somehow breach one layer, they would still face several more obstacles. High concrete walls. The prison is surrounded by massive concrete walls, reinforced with steel and topped with barbed wire. These walls are designed to be impossible to climb, even for the most physically capable prisoner. Multiple fences and barriers. In addition to the walls, Black Dolphin is secured with several layers of fencing, each equipped with motion sensors and electrified barriers. 24/7 armed guards and snipers. The perimeter is constantly patrolled by heavily armed guards positioned at strategic locations. Sniper towers allow for a full view of the entire prison, ensuring that any suspicious movement is spotted immediately. Underground security measures. To prevent tunneling escape attempts, Black Dolphin's foundation is reinforced, with underground sensors detecting any movement beneath the facility. Entrance and transfer protocol. No prisoner moves without escort. Security is so tight at Black Dolphin that even moving a prisoner from one part of the prison to another follows an extremely strict protocol. Blindfolded and handcuffed. Whenever a prisoner is moved, they are blindfolded, shackled, and placed in a stressed position. This prevents them from learning the layout of the prison, making it impossible to plan an escape. The 90-degree bend position. Prisoners are forced to bend forward at a 90-degree angle while being escorted by guards. This posture serves multiple purposes. It prevents inmates from seeing their surroundings, keeping them disoriented. It ensures that they cannot attack the guards or resist movement. It reinforces psychological submission, making prisoners feel powerless. 2 officers per inmate. Every time an inmate is moved, they are escorted by at least 2 highly trained guards, ensuring that they cannot attempt any sudden movements. Constant surveillance. No blind spots, no privacy. Black Dolphin is under relentless, round-the-clock surveillance. Every inmate, every corridor, and every cell is monitored with no gaps in security. CCTV cameras everywhere. Each cell is equipped with high-resolution cameras, ensuring that prisoners are watched 24/7. There are no blind spots. Every movement is recorded and analyzed by security personnel. Guards conduct inspections every 15 minutes. Prisoners cannot relax or move freely without being checked. Guards conduct physical inspections of inmates and their cells multiple times per hour. Motion sensors and alarms. Advanced motion sensors detect any unusual movement inside cells or corridors. If an inmate attempts anything suspicious, alarms are triggered immediately. Internal security, a cage within a cage. The internal security measures at Black Dolphin are just as strict as its outer defenses. Cells designed for maximum control. Each cell is heavily reinforced, with triple-layer security doors preventing unauthorized exit. A bar door, followed by a solid steel door, and finally a reinforced security gate make escape virtually impossible. Prisoners have no contact with each other. Inmates are housed in total isolation, preventing them from forming alliances or plotting escape. Even during exercise time, prisoners are taken one at a time, ensuring they remain completely separated. Strict regulation of prison staff. The guards and staff undergo extensive background checks and training to prevent corruption. Any interaction between staff and prisoners is highly controlled, with strict anti-corruption measures in place. Food and supplies. No opportunities for smuggling. Even the way food and supplies are handled at Black Dolphin follows extreme security measures. No direct handover of food. Meals are prepared under strict supervision and delivered through secure food slots in the cell doors. Random inspections of food and water. All meals and drinks are checked for contraband, ensuring that nothing unauthorized enters the cells. Restricted access to supplies. Prisoners are given only the bare essentials. No personal items, no books, and no unnecessary objects that could be modified into weapons or escape tools. Even hygiene items like soap and toothpaste are carefully regulated and distributed under strict supervision. Escape is impossible, a perfectly designed lockdown. Over the years, there has never been a recorded escape from Black Dolphin. Every aspect of its design makes it one of the most secure prisons in the world. High-tech security systems, fingerprint scanners, and biometric identification ensure that only authorized personnel can access certain areas. Electronic locks and fail-safe systems prevent unauthorized movement. Psychological control prevents resistance. The extreme conditions, sleep deprivation, isolation, and constant surveillance, ensure that prisoners are too broken mentally and physically to even think about escape. Inmates are kept in a state of absolute submission, where rebellion seems impossible. Strategic location. Black Dolphin is located in a remote area of Russia, far from any major city or transportation hub. Even if an inmate could somehow get past all the layers of security, they would be stranded in a harsh, unforgiving landscape with no means of survival. A fortress of absolute control. Black Dolphin is not just a prison. It is an impenetrable fortress designed to remove every possibility of escape, rebellion, or resistance. No one has ever escaped. No one ever will. Every movement is controlled, every action monitored. For the prisoners inside, it is a place of absolute confinement, where freedom, hope, and resistance no longer exist. The fate of the prisoners, a life sentence worse than death. The prisoners inside Black Dolphin Prison are not just criminals. They're the worst of the worst. Individuals convicted of the most heinous crimes imaginable. Serial killers, terrorists, cannibals, pedophiles, and mass murderers make up the population of this facility. These are not individuals who are serving temporary sentences. They have been condemned to spend the rest of their lives in complete isolation, cut off from the world forever. Unlike other prisons where inmates might have the possibility of parole, rehabilitation, or even small freedoms, Black Dolphin offers only one fate, a slow, inevitable decline into madness and death. Life without parole, a sentence with no hope. One of the most mentally devastating aspects of being incarcerated in Black Dolphin is that there is no chance of release, no possibility of parole. Every single prisoner in Black Dolphin is serving a life sentence. No matter how much time passes, they will never walk free again. No early release for good behavior. Unlike other prisons where inmates can earn privileges or even reduce sentences for demonstrating good conduct, Black Dolphin has no such system. There is nothing to work toward, no rewards, no hope, no legal appeals or sentence reductions. Once a prisoner is sent to Black Dolphin, their fate is sealed forever. Even if laws change or new evidence emerges, the Russian prison system rarely re-examines their cases due to slow death in isolation. For most prisoners, Black Dolphin is a fate worse than execution. Instead of being given a quick death, they are forced to endure decades of psychological torment, isolation, and absolute control. The prison is designed to keep them alive, but strip them of everything that makes life worth living. No contact with the outside world. Prisoners are completely cut off from society. They do not receive letters, phone calls, or visits from family members. To the outside world, they might as well be dead. No friendships, no socialization. Unlike other prisons where inmates might form relationships, Black Dolphin ensures total isolation. Prisoners never see each other, never interact, and are forbidden from speaking. No personal identity. Prisoners lose their names, their pasts, and their sense of self. They become numbers in a system, existing only to follow strict orders until they die. physical deterioration. The body fades before the mind. While the psychological toll is severe, the physical effects of a life sentence at Black Dolphin are equally brutal. Muscle loss from inactivity. Prisoners are kept in their cells 23 hours a day, with limited movement and no opportunities for physical labor or exercise beyond their 1 hour outdoor time. Their bodies slowly weaken and deteriorate. Chronic sleep deprivation. The constant guard checks every 15 minutes, bright lights, and rigid sleep rules ensure that prisoners never get true rest. This leads to weakened immune systems, severe fatigue, and accelerated aging. Malnutrition and starvation-like conditions. Prison meals are minimal and repetitive, consisting of watered-down soup and a small piece of bread. Over time, prisoners become frail and emaciated, their bodies slowly wasting away. Untreated medical conditions. While basic medical care is provided, it is purely to keep prisoners alive, not to ensure comfort or health. Chronic illnesses go untreated, and prisoners often suffer in silence with no pain relief or medical intervention. Mental collapse, a descent into madness. With no stimulation, no social contact, and no hope, many prisoners lose their sanity long before their bodies fail. Severe depression and suicidal thoughts. The knowledge that they will never leave, never see their families, and never experience freedom again drives many prisoners into a deep, irreversible depression. Psychotic breaks and hallucinations. Years of sensory deprivation and isolation cause prisoners to experience paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations. Many begin talking to themselves, seeing things that aren't there, or believing that they're already dead. Loss of identity and will to live. Some prisoners stop speaking altogether, withdrawing into a state of total mental collapse. They refuse food, refuse movement, and exist in a near catatonic state. Death behind bars, the final fate of every inmate. Because Black Dolphin only houses lifers, there's only one way out: death. Natural death from old age. Some prisoners simply live out their remaining years, slowly fading away in complete isolation. Death from untreated illness. With minimal medical care and harsh living conditions, many prisoners die from diseases that would be treatable elsewhere. Mental and physical breakdown leading to death. Some prisoners become so weak from malnutrition, lack of movement, and sleep deprivation that their bodies simply shut down. Suicide attempts. Rare, but inevitable. While the prison is designed to prevent self-harm, some prisoners still manage to end their own lives rather than endure decades of suffering. A forgotten existence, erased from the world. Once inside Black Dolphin, a prisoner's identity, history, and existence are erased. No one remembers them. Without communication or updates, their families eventually move on, forgetting they ever existed. No graves, no funerals. When prisoners die, their bodies are buried in unmarked graves or cremated without ceremony. There is no memorial, no recognition, no legacy left behind. They become ghosts, alive but invisible. The world moves on without them, and they are left to rot in silence, trapped in an endless cycle of isolation and misery. The ultimate punishment, a sentence worse than execution. While many countries use the death penalty for the worst criminals, Russia's Black Dolphin Prison inflicts a punishment far crueler. Instead of a quick death, inmates are forced to live out their lives in total control, complete submission, and absolute loneliness. Execution lasts seconds, but a life sentence at Black Dolphin lasts decades. Prisoners are kept alive only to suffer. No escape, no future, no dignity. Only a slow march toward death in complete solitude. Black Dolphin Prison is not just a place of confinement. It is a monument to absolute control, psychological torment, and the slow erosion of the human spirit. For the prisoners locked inside, every day is the same. No freedom, no hope, and no escape. Their bodies may continue to exist, but their souls are slowly crushed beneath the weight of isolation, monotony, and despair. In many ways, Black Dolphin represents a punishment beyond death, a fate where prisoners are forced to endure a lifetime of suffering with no possibility of redemption. It is a place where the worst criminals vanish from the world, locked away in an existence so brutal that even death would seem merciful. For those inside, the walls of Black Dolphin are not just physical barriers. They're the final, unbreakable boundary between them and the rest of humanity. Once the heavy steel doors close behind them, there's only one certainty left. They will never walk free again.